let's dispel a myth here. Do you play better drunk or sober?
Well, I think I play my stuff better drunk.
Larry, if you're watching, he plays better drunk.
No, I said I play my stuff better drunk.
Alright, so we're going to move on to the first album now, which is L-Play. It's like every one of them in the series is 6 songs from a particular era.
Yep.
But before we get going, I think it's important to note here that from the very start, like say you said before, you're a bass player, you're not a vocalist, you've done backing vocals up to this point. But on all of these, you play guitar, you've got to do the drums, you do guitar, drums, bass, and vocals,
Keyboard,
which is all outside of your comfort zone. Are they like computer generated samples sort of things? Yeah.
Yeah. So bass, guitar, and synth, piano, they're all physical instruments. The drums, VSTs. So. The first drum program that I had, it was free from the internet. It was a pretty cool sound. Well, I thought it was a good sounding kit, and there's all these preset drum beats and loops and stuff that you can choose from. And then you drag and drop what you like up into a project, and then it's copy paste. So that's pretty much how I've done it, and. Looking back now, that free program, sounded great back then. But
it was free for a reason.
It's not so good.
So you're basically you're learning everything from the start of this the L plates. You're learning everything. It's all like you haven't had
bass. I knew how to play bass.
Well, that's debatable.
Yeah, depends how pissed I am.
All right, so let's move into the first song then. The first song is called Chime, which was recorded pretty much at the start of the learning curve. You can tell somewhat by the I'm going to be blunt on everything here that I've listened to this tape before the interview. Very echoey. You can tell in the vocal delivery. It's like you say, it's very basic, but it's a good starting point. Why is this a good starting point?
Well, back when I was learning, I had it in my head that reverb covered all your mistakes. But all it did was make it sound echoey. And that's just getting back to that room once again. That room, it was untreated. It was rectangle, square walls, and so sounds just bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced, creating a reverb,
a natural reverb.
Yeah, an unnatural reverb. So that song, and that song isn't the first song that I wrote, by the way. There's many others that I wrote before that room was built. I was writing songs when I was away at camp. And when the studio was being built, I had this little Alesis Mix 8 little desk thing that I used to plug the guitar into, and it was just in the shed. So I'd sit in the shed with my beanie and my fucking dressing gown and shit, freezing. Yeah. So there was a lot of songs written before Time, but the reason I put Time down was because as my first song, because that was the first song that was recorded vocally in this studio that I had built.
Okay. And so would you say at this stage, like you were learning, you were experimenting, you were trying to learn, like what was going through your head at this stage? Did you have the bigger picture that this is what you wanted to do, or were you just having fun?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Well, you know me, when I get an idea in my head, it's fucking full steam ahead. And I just keep thinking and thinking and thinking, and by the end of the week, we're taking over the world. So the whole idea of me building the shed, building the studio, was what I wanted to do was record young, up-and-coming bands that couldn't afford to record at bigger studios. I was setting up my studio to be able to record digitally, but everyone could play at the same time, record at the same time, so it was more like a live feel. You didn't have to come in and single track,
record the bass.
Day 1 drums come in, day 2 guitars, day 3 bass. You know, because everyone was in there. They were all recording to the drum beat, the set drum beats, and it was, you know, like I said, like a live feel. So I also, at this point in time, I love my photography. You know, I was once again getting right into that, being creative. So I had, you know, a bit of a photography studio out the back of the shed, and also a green screen and filmography. So these young bands could come in, they could record 3 songs, they could get professional photos done, and they could get a low budget film clip for their EPK, and that's it, and boom, there you go. Within a week, there's your EPK, there's you as a band, all on a little disc or a link or something that, you know, they can put on their web pages and all the rest of it. So that was what I wanted to do with the place.
So you were just using yourself like a crash test dummy, basically experimenting to see how to make things work?
Well, I had to learn what to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't get bands in there and not know what to do.
You've got to still provide something.
Yeah, so you know, writing and recording all my own stuff, and you know, like my workflow to how it was then is completely different to how it is now. It's, you know, simplicity is everything. Less is more. Fucking, you know. But you got to go through all these things. You got to go through all these stages to realise where your mistakes are and realise what you're doing wrong and fix it, and you know, and move on and just get better, hopefully.
So the next song on the EP is called "The Room," which is written about this space that we've been talking about the whole time. So run us through that song. That must be very, especially like there's some of the lyrics in that are very relatable to what's going on now.
Oh, absolutely. You've only got to listen to the lyrics, you know. In this room of creativity, I can be the person that I want to be, you know. The chorus is my limited ability, repeated, you know. And on that particular song, Susie Campbell, she does the backing vocals. So Susie was in a covers band, and I've always loved her voice, and I've always encouraged Susie to do more, you know, keep going, like. And back then I kept saying to her, you should do originals, you know, do originals. And so she agreed to come in and sing some backups and sing through some songs with me, which was awesome. But unfortunately, like, I was still learning, and I couldn't push her as far as she needed to be pushed, you know, like.
Oh, you're still pushing yourself at that stage, aren't you? So.
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah. Still learning, still honing, and Susie was great, and even to this day I still love her voice. I think she's got a fantastic voice, and I really hope that that it does take off and she does well, you know.
So it's not just her vocals extra on this, but your vocal delivery on this one's very, very different to the one on Chime. Like, again, was that you experimenting, or was it more natural? Or
yeah, well, everyone has to find their voice. So, and I'm not having a dig at covers artists here.
Because he is in a covers band himself.
Well, that's right. But when you're singing covers, you're singing, you know, melodies, patterns, and I shouldn't say you're trying to sound like the person that wrote the song.
Inadvertently you do.
But you're doing your best to sing that song as best as you can. When it comes to originals, you haven't got a template to work from. It's a blank canvas. So you have to find your voice. You have to, you know, find your way. And yeah, so it's very interesting that you picked up on that, actually. Because pretty much through the whole album is me just trying to find my voice, and me trying to find where I'm comfy singing. And it was around that time that I was learning that I shouldn't stretch my boundaries too far. You know, don't go out of your comfort zone too much. Just write songs that suit my voice. Towards the end of the EP, the last couple of songs, I think that's where you hear it most.
Yeah.
Where you hear, I'm not saying I've found my voice, but I've found my zone where I'm comfortable in singing.
Yeah. It's actually an interesting point you raise. Like you're saying with a cover band, like you're trying to sound like the person who originally did it, but when it's original, you're trying to find your own niche. Which do you reckon is more difficult? Like you played in both. Do you reckon it's more difficult trying to adapt to someone else's style or to come up with your own?
When it comes to singing, it's not my strong point. So that's very difficult for me. Difficult in the sense writing lyrics. Like I'm pretty hopeless at it, and I find myself just repeating. I'm good at melodies. I think I'm developing melodies. But when it comes to putting words to those melodies, if the word doesn't quite fit what the melody is, I see myself changing the melody.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got to get out of that. I've got to find words that fit the melody because it's a good melody.
Yeah.
I've never been a frontman vocalist for a covers band, so I really don't know what they go through, and I'm not really in a position to answer that, but I do know that doing vocals in original music for me is difficult.
Yeah. Even though
singing backups in covers is a piece of piss. No problem.
And The Room is also the first and only song on L plates to feature another guest musician playing guitar.
Yes. Dave Lynch. I was working on that song, and I was thinking, oh God, we really need a solo here. Who gonna get to do a solo? Lo and behold, Dave Lynch comes banging on the door, round for a visit, and I'm like, sweet. Here's a guitar, mate. I need a solo. Here's the song. And you know what? First take, he's bashed it out. So what you're hearing is unedited, just straight in, bang. It's what he's done, and I love that because that's what the EP's about as well. It's raw.
And it's actually not a bad solo, but you were saying earlier on that he's not happy with it.
Oh, he hates it.
So does he know that you're putting this out, or is he going to be surprised?
Oh, I asked him a long time ago if he'd mind if I'd put it out, and he said, no, it's all good. But
I hope you've got that in writing just in case.
Yeah. But I love it. I think for someone to just walk in and bash out what he did, it's fucking great. Yeah.
So the next tune on L plates is called When We Met, which was written for your then wife Jenny. So at this early stage of your writing career, did you find it easier to write and record songs that had more personal meaning for you?
Absolutely. So I wrote songs about everyone in the family. So Red Peas has got a song for Stephanie and a song for Bailey. They're my children.
Son, daughter,
yeah. And you know what? That came so naturally to me because it was from the heart, and I wasn't afraid to put down to paper my feelings and my thoughts. I love these guys. I love my family, and hey, I want to tell the fucking world. So those songs were very easy lyrically.
But how about musically? Like at this stage, like that's just your third song into the L plates, which obviously is your third song you've written. But did you find it easier coming up with other instrument music to go with that, like the lyrics, obviously? But
at that stage, like I was just being so creative, and that whole snowball effect, and me just zeroing in and focusing. The creativity was just pouring out of me. So these 6 songs that are on L plates aren't the only 6 songs that I had written during that period.
There's
probably about 20 songs. But these ones are the complete ones.
So when you say complete, they're the ones you've actually finished recording in whole, and so they weren't picked for any other reason aside from the fact they were finished.
They're finished.
Right, yeah.
They're done. I didn't want to work on on these songs. I didn't want to polish them
Well, you
up.
couldn't really now. Like if you went back and worked on them now, you'd be losing the essence of what you're actually trying to achieve here.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, which is, you know, teaching everyone who's starting out to learn this that it's okay to make mistakes, and jot it down and capture it.
Yeah.
You know, and show everyone your mistakes. Put a mistake in there and see if someone picks it.
Now we're getting into technicalities of it.